This is the installation on this MESO Customs Stealth Shift Knob version 2.0. We're going to show you how to do the full installation of the wiring. Starting with the center console, pull the shift knob boot down, unscrew and remove, pull the e-brake up, lift the center console, grab from the rear, and it pops up. There's one connector right here. Unplug it. Remove the e-brake shift boot. Now we're going to take the center console over to the bench. We're going to swap out this shift collar with the new Stealth shift knob with the integrated circuits. Now that we have the center console here, this is the new shift boot collar that we need to install. The factory one has a zip tie holding it in. Cut it off and pop it out. Now that the factory one is removed, we're going to install the new one. Getting it tucked in. Inserting it from the bottom, it's still a tight fit. Just slowly work the shift boot around the new boot collar. Use a plastic pry tool if you have to, just to get it down. The shift boot will lock into the recessed notch that's on the new collar. Now that the shift boot is on the shoulder, we can orient it. It needs to be turned so that the 4 solder points face the rear. And it's easy to line up with the seam of the shift boot as well to make sure that you're centered. Now that we have this installed, we're going to go back to the vehicle and install it. Before we finalize the installation of the center console, we need to install the provided wire. This is the extension wire that goes up to the shift knob and over to the dash. There's 2 connections here. The first gray connector is going to plug in where your ECT button is. This is what's going to gain you the remote control access from the shift knob without having to press the button on the dash. The second wire, this black harness, comes with a pigtail lead. This can be wired to the control of your choice. You can open up a garage door. You can open up a tailgate. This can be wired into a relay, a switch pro, whatever you prefer. It is low voltage, so if you run something that requires higher amperage, you might want to run a relay. So let's install that now. First thing we're going to do is get to this ECT button. In order to do that, we're going to pop the dash off, down to the air conditioner control. From here, you can reach in and unplug the ECT button. We're going to plug our new one in. Right now, we don't have an accessory hooked up, so we're just going to leave that back there. Now we're going to drop the wire down and run it over to our center console. Now that we've got the connection installed, we're going to route the wires down the driver's side and over to the center console. I just like to fish them down this side. Grab them over here. Tuck it up this side. Pop it underneath. There's some factory wires running down the driver's side of the center console. We just like to stay right next to them in parallel. And now our wires are up and over to the shift knob. We're ready to complete the installation for that. Let's put the dash back in. AC controls. And radio bezel. Now that we've got the dash put back together, we're going to put our center console in. Underneath, on our new shift boot, we have 2 wires. Those are going to plug in to the extensions that we ran. 1, 2. Both buttons are the same. If you want the left to do a certain configuration or the right, you can switch these wires around. From here, we're going to plug factory connector back in. Get the e-brake on. E-brake shift boot. Make sure this is lined up and comes through. E-brake on. Make sure everything is good. Snap it together. And then finally, the shift knob, the version 2.0. What differentiates this about the old one, the old one was tethered with wires, so they could get bound up when you're trying to remove or install the shift knob. These use pogo pins, which as the shift knob screws on, it's just going to make one connection. So we screw this on here. All the way down till it's pretty snug. Line this up. and snap it on. From there, we're going to test our ECT function